Namaste and welcome to this new edition or new session of Insightful Conversations. My name is Belu Mehra and I look after the BhāratShakti department of Sriaurobindosociety, which focuses on research and program development in various areas related to Indian culture and integral yoga. The key thrust of our programs or all the research that we do is to figure out how we can contribute to the reawakening of the eternal BhāratShakti, which Sri Aurobindo says is the real cause, the real basis for its India's persistence and constant renewal and rejuvenation. So, of course, it's Sri Aurobindo's vision for the future of India and India's destined work for the evolutionary march of humanity that guides us. And one of our projects is this Insightful Conversation series that we do as part of our online monthly journal, where we invite experts working in various fields, various domains of activity, and see how, and to get insights and ideas from them, how they are able to integrate the eternal spirit of Indian civilization and culture through the various works that they pursue. And we've had in the past done conversations with educators, authors, performers, photographers, heritage enthusiasts. So I think we've done about 15 or 16, but we had to take a little break in between. So we are happy to resume this with our esteemed guest today, Dr. Mala Kapadia. And any of the interested viewers can go and look for the the last 15, 16 that we did in the series on our journal website, renaissance.orosociety.org, under the tab Insightful Conversations. So we are really happy to have you with us, Dr. Mala Kapadia. I lovingly call you Mala Di. Welcome to this online forum of Sri Aurobindo Society. And together with you, we'll be exploring a very interesting topic, human psychology through NāṭyaŠāstra. So for our viewers, I would like to just read out a brief introduction of Dr. Mala Kapadia. Dr. Kapadia brings a very rich and diverse academic and professional background. She's currently working as Director, Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems at Anaadi Foundation. She's also a member of the Advisory Council of Center for Indian Knowledge Systems at Chanakya University, Bengaluru. She's had a very long career where she's worked in capacity of educator, researcher, coach, research guide for doctoral students, author, curriculum designer in areas as diverse as psychology, management, leadership, well-being, and happiness. Her key interests are integrating Bharatiya wisdom and Dharmic frameworks, as well as insights from Ayurveda and Yoga, particularly concepts such as panchmahabhoota, triguna, knowing one's svabhāva, in areas related to education, organizational leadership, deepening self-awareness, cultivating emotional intelligence and higher order intelligence, and holistic well-being. This is quite a impressive resume, Maladi. You have worked with various higher educational institutions in India and abroad. You have several publications to her credit, and she's also convened several important conferences in these areas of interest and expertise. In 2023, Dr. Mala Kapadia was selected by Indica Academy under their initiative Grateful to Gurus, and she was honored as one of the leading figures, a guru, for her tireless work in spreading the light of India's ancient wisdom and inspiring young minds and hearts. So we are indeed very fortunate, Maladi, that you've joined us today for this session of insightful conversations at BhāratShakti. And another important thing that I should also not forget to mention, Dr. Mala Kapadia has been inspired by Sri Aurobindo's vision since her young days and is a regular visitor to ashram and Auroville, and that's where we've met. I've had the pleasure of meeting you a few times at various programs in Auroville. So given her deep interest in Indian knowledge tradition, now she's been exploring NāṭyaŠāstra, the text, from a psychological perspective. And that's what we'll be primarily focusing on today. because it ties in well with the project that we are currently undertaking at our online journal, Renaissance, which is the spirit and forms of Indian art. And we've been taking different aspects of this theme every month. And this month, which is November and December, it's a double issue. We are focusing on the way of the Indian artist and art as yoga. So when we look at this traditional, one of the core treatises of Indian aesthetics, NāṭyaŠāstra, from human psychology perspective, it fits in so perfectly. The timing, only mother could have arranged it like that. So we have a few questions that we would like to start discussing with you, and then we'll see how the conversation flows, and you can enlighten us on some of these aspects. So welcome once again, and let me start with the very first question. So given this vast background and expertise in human psychology and its application in organizational leadership and education and curriculum design, what drew you to NāṭyaŠāstra in particular at this point in your research journey?
Dhanyavad. Thank you, Belu and Narendra ji. First of all, Gurubhyo Namaha, Guru Parampara Namaha. I'm here today, as you rightly said, because of my school teacher, Jaishriban Bhatt, who introduced me, I would say reintroduced me in this birth to the mother and sriaurobindo. And that stayed with me when I did my psychology graduation. Unfortunately, it was a very colonized curriculum, America-centric, Eurocentric curriculum, which had nothing about anything which is Bharatiya or Indian. So I left psychology there, but psychology has never left me till date. So what happened is my journey went through many other, studies like my own Gujarati literature, Sahitya, journalism, human resource management, MBA, yoga and Ayurveda diploma. And I could see dots going back to psychology. And in Gujarati Sahitya, Kavyashastra, not NāṭyaŠāstra, but Kavyashastra was a part of it. So my gratitude to my teacher, Jayaben Mehta, and I still have my MA book, Prachin Kavyashastra. And in that, we had studied Abhinav Gupta and Rasa Vichar, right? So Abhinav Gupta has written a lot on Rasa Siddhanta. And way back in 94, like many other people, I read a book by Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence, which gave chart of families of emotion by Paul Ekman, where he is given 6 or 8 basic emotions, and then it's given the related feelings with those emotions. And my first was, oh my God, this is what we have studied in Kavyashastra as Rasa Siddhanta, because we study Sthai Bhava and Rasa and Vyabhichari Bhava. So Bhava like feelings that come and go. And then there are Sthai Bhava, which is more like coming from our psyche, which are inherent in us. So I decided to pursue that further. And that's why I'm here. Let me admit, I've not studied NāṭyaŠāstra in depth because it is certainly a vast ocean of knowledge. But I've certainly picked up few thoughts from Abhinav Gupta and trying to relate it to psychology. And there is, I think, a future is, has a lot of possibility and potential for further research.
Great, thank you. And let me also just mention for our viewers, we are also joined by Narendra Murthy, who is part of our BhāratShakti team. I forgot to introduce him earlier. And Narendra ji, I invite you to maybe see if any questions come to your mind based on what Maladi has shared so far, or any other thing.
Maladi, I just wanted to know whether the Abhinav Gupta that you're talking about, is he the same one who comes from the Kashmiri Shaivism tradition?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
It's the
Same
same
one.
person.
Same
But
person.
I always perceived him as a philosopher. I did not know this. He had this aesthetic side to him. Yeah.
Surendra, the beauty of our Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. So, philosopher can also write Vyakarana. A philosopher may also write aesthetics, right? Uh, I mean, you'll be surprised that there has been one king in the Malwa region, the middle part of India, Bhoj, and he has written a lot on Kavyashastra. In fact, when Bhoj died, it was told that today Saraswati has become a widow. So imagine we have had people deeply committed art forms or philosophy, and they were not integral, right? I mean, it was never either or.
I didn't know about this. So nice. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Maladi, in terms of integrating Indian views of human psychology and especially the aspects related to the panchmahabhoota and understanding of the svabhāva, what insights have you found from Abhinav Gupta or the Indian aesthetic tradition, particularly about becoming self-aware of our svabhāva, and how does Indian aesthetic tradition kind of work around that? So if you can enlighten us on that a little bit.
Sure, Belu. As Narendra ji rightly asked a question, right? I mean, for us, we have never had a psychology as a theme in our Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, as a separate science, because psychology was an integral part of everything that we did, whether it was philosophy, whether it was yoga, whether it was Ayurveda, whether it was NāṭyaŠāstra. So when I saw Paul Ekman's chart of families of emotion, I went back to my understanding of Kavya Shastra, and especially Abhinav Gupta has contributed the ninth rasa, which is Shan. Before Abhinav Gupta, Bharat Muni had compiled all literature. What now amazes me, Belu, is that reading quantum physicists like David Bohm, or I'm ready. Sorry, forgive me for my voice today. It's or when I'm reading psychoneuroimmunology, Candace Pert, my mind goes back to what Abhinav Gupta has written. You know, synthesizes. So first, come to the origin of NāṭyaŠāstra, which is very interesting. Maybe in your earlier interviews of insightful conversation, somebody has mentioned it. But Ayurveda, Yoga, and Yoga goes to Shiva. But Ayurveda very clearly goes in origin to Brahma. And even NāṭyaŠāstra goes in origin to Brahma, right? Now, I'm not sure about what performance artists are talking about Brahma and NāṭyaŠāstra, but in Ayurveda, there is an ignorance which has taken over, and people say, oh, this is mythology. We should remove the history of Ayurveda. How can you assign it to Brahma? Reading David Bohm, physicist, back to our understanding of Brahma as the creative energy from where it emerged. So, cosmos, all knowledge comes from Brahma. And Bohm very beautifully gives the formula that energy is equal to information, is equal to intelligence. Now, if we relate this, all knowledge that we ascribe to Brahma, so Brahma is the creative force, the creative energy, from where maybe our rishis downloaded all the knowledge. Our rishis were also poets, right? So they beautifully put everything as poetry, right? So Brahma various other disciples who took it forward. Now, Bharat compiled all the NāṭyaŠāstra sutras. So it was existing even before Bharat Muni. And he compiled everything together. However, Abhinav Gupta, who's connected with Kashmir Shaivism, he stated Bharat Muni's work a step forward. So he says that there are not only 8 rasa, but there are 9. There is a 9th rasa, which is called Shanta. So there is debate on that, in that era. But later on, I think everyone has accepted 9 rasa and not just 8 rasa.
Right.
Now, read Candace Pert, Psychoneuroimmunology and Psychology. She talks of molecules of emotion, right? She says our mind is a little brain floating in our body. Neurosides which have our emotions and
Maladi, can I just interrupt you for a minute? Your voice is breaking up for a little. I mean, I think if you just sit a little closer to the.
Yeah, sure. Is this better now?
It's like getting better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were talking about molecules of emotion, that book.
Yes. Emotion connects body and mind. And she says that mind floats in the body. So mind is not just the brain, right? I mean, this is the misconception of modern medical science and psychology both, right? They don't go beyond the brain. But connects this with receptor sites and neuropeptides. And she says that all of us, we have inherited proneness to certain emotions, and these emotions are stored in our receptor sites in the body. And these neuropeptides which are floating around in the body, and they fit in like a lock and key. And that's how we experience emotions. Now, if we go back to Abhinav Gupta's understanding of svabhāva, he very clearly says that they belong to human psyche. So the Nava Rasa and Nava svabhāva are common to all human beings. See, the beauty of our Shastra is it was never about only Indians. It was never a local science, right? It's very unfortunate that whatever American or Europe-centric psychology they have written, they call that universal, but our knowledge is called as local. It's very sad, and we have to be vocal about it, that our knowledge, our rishis actually talked about human psyche for humanity, at large. And Abhinav Gupta takes it forward, giving 2-3 very beautiful concepts that I would like to talk about. He talks of that Paul Ekman model. The Western model of emotions does not have this important emotion of Shant Bhava. Shant Rasa is not there. They don't talk of peace as a construct. Also, we have Veer Rasa, right? So, Veer Rasa, Utsaha is the Sthai Bhava, which can actually culminate into the Rasa of Virata. Now, both very important emotions of our psyche are missing in the Western psychology. They don't have them. And talks of universality of emotions, but he also talks of sadharanikaran. The concept of sadharanikaran is, you would be knowing, is very critical in NāṭyaŠāstra, which says that when we are enjoying an act or a poetry, right, or a performance, whether it's the dance performance or theater performance, our own personal emotions get aroused, but then they go up, they are elevated to a higher level, so that what we experience is away from our individual emotion, right? And that is such a beautiful concept that I think we can integrate into psychology. That how do you help people understand, one, what emotions have they inherited? So when let's take one example of a family sitting together and deciding what play to watch or what TV show to watch. And chances are all 4 or 5 people would want something different to watch, right? So somebody may prefer a comedy show, somebody may prefer action, right? Comedy is hasya rasa, action is veer rasa. Somebody may actually prefer karuna rasa, right? I mean, we all know people who love to go for theater or film shows where there is a lot of sorrow and they love to cry. Imagine, right? That we love to cry. We enjoy that. That is what going above our personal emotion and experiencing them as a universal emotion, right? Also, I mean, I'm sure aliens, if they look at us, maybe we are the only species on this planet who go and love to get horrified. People go for horror movies, right? Or TV shows like Fear Factor and others, with lizards crawling over your body, which arouses the bibhatsa rasa. I mean, your face immediately showed that wrinkles, right? So it's a bibhatsa, but people enjoy it. Now, how to enjoy a different rasa? That is study of Natyashastra, and that has been, the gap in the Western psychology of emotions. They have started talking of emotions and emotional intelligence, but they are not looking at the body and mind continuum. Even emotional intelligence is seen more as a brain. So you teach it as a cognitive skill, right? And you give 5 steps to overcome anger, but nobody can overcome anger because if Raudra, right, is your sthai bhava, if anger is your sthai bhava, which is inherited, which is inherent in your body mind combination, you have to learn to transform it. And not just shows us the path, how to transform it.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely amazing. This last part, I think we can come back to it for a little bit more in-depth understanding the transformation. That's where the yoga, especially the integral yoga
Absolutely.
part, would come in. But even before that, you said so many interesting, and there were so many interesting points about, first the absence of Shantarasa, understanding that is a rasa, and the missing out of the continuum, and the vibhats and all these things.
Absolutely.
And I think the concept of sadharanikaran is so important in understanding,
Yes.
because you were really describing how all inclusive our Indian aesthetic tradition is, and
It
it
is.
doesn't miss out on any aspect. And the other
Doesn't.
beautiful thing, what I understood from as you were describing, Maladi, about the application part of this understanding to addressing our psychological states or psychological problems or issues that might be there. So how, there is so much talk these days about using theater for therapy, drama for therapy,
Absolutely.
because it's a way for us to, or the people who are part of that, to be involved and not be involved at the same time.
Yes.
So that aspect is so important. And it's interesting how West is taking up drama as therapy, but without this deeper understanding of this. So thank you so much for bringing this up. Let me just invite Narendra ji and see if he would like to add something, and then we'll come to the transformation part as well.
Right now, I don't have it. That was very enlightening, Maladi, about this, experiencing emotions at a universal level. That having that kind of, going for horror movies or whatever, Karun Rasa, enjoying tragedies and all, rising above our personal, emotional makeup and enjoying emotions at a universal level. That was very enlightening. And one thing you just mentioned, that Westerners still kind of they identify the mind with the brain. Probably they do not know about the concept of the Manomaya Kosha in our metaphysics, because Manomaya Kosha, though it pertains to the mind and emotions, it doesn't say that it is confined to the brain. It is for the
Exactly.
the Manomaya. It's a
Absolutely.
sheath. It's a sheath. So Manomaya Kosha, I think probably they still have not arrived at that, and that is why they still have that brain fixation in their approach. But that was very enlightening, Malan. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the question. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. Yes.
Maladi, am I audible to you? Because Narendra,
You are. Yes.
Audio is off.
yeah. No, I think her audio is on. Anyway, Maladi, going back to that point about transformation, if Rodra, anger, is somebody's Thaibhav, first of all, how do we determine? And does our aesthetic tradition help us understand or become this kind of self-aware, in this deepening of our self-awareness as to, what is this Thaibhava from which I operate? And then once we have the awareness, then only we can speak in terms of transformation. So if you can just speak a little bit about that.
Sure, I will. But prior to that, let me explain two more terms which would be related to this transformation. So, one is Abhinav Gupta talks of Saradaita. So, he says a person needs to be Saradai in order to enjoy the emotion, right? And Saradaita means that my heart feels with your heart. Our hearts are in communication, right?
Empathy,
So again,
empathy, empathy.
this is exactly just mentioned about brain versus mind, right? Manomay kosha, right? Because again, the West psychology or management literature, everything is brain focused, right? The heart, even empathy is taught as a cognitive skill. Gratitude is taught as a cognitive skill, right? But you talk of Saradaita, it comes to heart, right? So the Anahat Chakra or the psychic being, they both come together, isn't it? It's not from the brain or even the mind that I experience emotions, but it is from the heart, the Hridaya, that I experience. Abhinav Gupta and I really honestly feel that they are, the best psychologists were our rishis, including Abhinav Gupta, because he talks of lot of obstacles which may come, why we can't become a Saradai. Why are people on the scale of Saradaita can be from 0 to 10 anywhere. And he says one of the reasons is Hriday Granthi, which means a knot in your heart. Now, the knot in your heart does not allow you to have empathy or experience the joy of emotions. Now, isn't it beautiful? Because when we talk of transformation, the transformation can come at a very deep level from understanding what Sthai Bhava are, like the receptors, neuropeptides and receptors, which we can relate to another term from yoga, which is called sanskara. And I think sanskar theory, I've recently completed my book, which is in press, on Bharatiya NāṭyaŠāstra, where I've talked about NāṭyaŠāstra, But I've also introduced sanskar theory because, this is, I think, a very powerful contribution from Bharatiya Shastra to the world of psychology. Because sanskara are below the iceberg. If we take the Sigmund Freud, simile of svabhāva, he compares it with an iceberg and says only the top of the iceberg is visible, rest is below the iceberg. And sanskara are below the iceberg, which we don't see, but which we experience in our action, in our behavior, in our thoughts and emotions. So that's why we have this Punaha Sanskara, right? The entire Patanjali Yoga Sutras talk about Punaha Sanskara, that how do we outgrow our Sanskara? And if Yoga, Ayurveda and NāṭyaŠāstra, a beautiful psychology curriculum can emerge, right? So transformation needs one, understanding of sthayi bhava. Transformation needs understanding of Hriday Granthi and how do you resolve Hriday Granthi. And transformation also requires understanding of the processes, right? The sanskara, how to format the disc. I mean, I've been, experimenting while teaching management and leadership courses or, integrating that in my corporate programs on emotional intelligence. We all switch the negative emotions, like anger. Let's take anger because that's one of the Raudra roop, right? It's a needed emotion, and yet we really don't know how to manage it. Now, when we go to NāṭyaŠāstra, there are enough guidelines to a performer how to show anger. So eyes become bigger, your voice becomes louder, you start shivering, right? Your blood becomes hot, and that hot blood can make you reddish. But here you don't become angry, you are showing an anger. That's because a performer will have heart attack if one show after the other, if you are becoming angry because that character is angry. So you are not supposed to become angry, but you are supposed to only show anger. It's very sad we've never taken this insight from NāṭyaŠāstra into the field of psychology. So in role plays, I give them all the Navarasas, Navasthai Bhava, ask them to design their own script depicting each rasa in a negative way. How will they transform it into positivity? So it's one of the most challenging one, right? And this is where the insight comes that, okay, now I have, maybe one of my team member or, somebody in the family. I've explained many times, and yet the person is not understanding, is repeating a same behavior or repeating same mistakes. Our natural response is to become angry, right? However, unfortunately, and this we experience even while watching performance, we never experience only one emotion at a time. So you are not just experiencing anger, you are maybe experiencing sadness connected with anger. Maybe you are experiencing disgust connected with anger, right? However, we never experience any emotion 100%. So even if we become angry and either express anger or we suppress anger, right? With anger, we all know that we may exaggerate, we may say things that we regret later. We may, it may spoil the relationship. It creates disharmony, right? And we never come out of the anger. So the anger still simmers within us. Even if we don't express anger, emotion is energy in motion. And energy never dies, or energy can only be, transformed. So the anger keeps on simmering at the back of the mind, right? And throughout the day, we realize that we are little angry because that anger is, giving energy to us. So suppressing both can be harmful. Now, NāṭyaŠāstra, what does it teach you? The way I use it is we circle anger, step into it. So you are actually now stepping in as maybe a teacher or a manager or a parent who has decided to become angry, decide to show anger without becoming angry, right? Now, what do you do? Simple. It's a drama. From NāṭyaŠāstra, from your own past experience, So you show anger and then you realize that you are very empowered. You don't get carried away by the emotion. You are able to focus, give the message. But once the message is given, you can come out of it. And the moment you come out, there is no more anger, either with that person or with anyone else who meets you later on. Right? Emotion is useful. That's why they are sthayi bhava, right? Somewhere they are universally part of our psyche. So nothing is useless, right, in this cosmos. Anger also has its utility. Anger also has its place. It's just that we have to learn, we have to, tame our monkey mind to use the emotion, become the master of the emotion, and use it in a more productive, constructive way.
Malaji, if I may ask a question.
Sure.
What I understood from what you said is, if I'm playing the role of anger, I'm not actually angry, but by playing that role, that negativity of anger, I'm throwing it out in a sense. I'm giving it expression, I'm throwing it out. And when I do that, when I go through those motions, I kind of cleanse myself of that negativity. Is that what you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's a kind of therapy, actually. So it's a kind of therapy where Natya is being used as a kind of therapy for the negativity by allowing the play of that negative emotion. And all the time the actor is maintaining that objectivity that I am not this emotion, but I am basically enacting this emotion. And that works as therapy. Is that what? Okay. Thank you.
NāṭyaŠāstra helps us understand that if we are enjoying, that's why it is called rasa, right? So we are enjoying. Karuna ras also we are enjoying.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Veera rasa, bhayanak rasa, all the rasa we are enjoying. And therefore must not be carried away, because when you get carried away, you start repeating in a negative way. For example, today even young kids and college students go through a lot of depression, right? We see a lot of mental health issues coming out of the karuna ras, right? Which is pushing to a negativity, low self-worth, meaninglessness in life, right? And therefore, they are unable to come out of it and enjoy it. You create situations, you attract situations which will make you more melancholic
Yes.
rather than come out of it.
Kind of attention seeking and all that.
Okay. What this beauty of our Bharatiya languages, especially Sanskrit, comes in. Karuna and Karuna. Karuna is compassion. So from Karunaras comes Karuna. And this is where, our Adi Kavi Valmiki, when he saw that bird getting, the sparrow hitting the bird, right? And arrow, hitting the bird. Kauchavada. And from the Karunas, his Karuna came out. And then that Manishada, the first lines of Ramayana came out. Right? So what we teach or we are able to help our younger generation understand how to transform Karunaras into Karuna. So Karunaras depression can actually make you emotionally numb, right? It's like anesthesia. I mean, we all have gone through our dental treatments, and when with the local anesthesia, we don't feel the pain. Then the doctor says, okay, now go home, enjoy your ice cream and milkshakes because you can't eat anything. Unfortunately, in that moment, because of the effect of the anesthesia, we don't even enjoy the ice cream or milkshake, right? The same is happening to the younger generation. There is so much pain in the world around them that they are insulating themselves. They are unable to cope, right? And therefore they get into depression. Therefore, they get into a pool which protects them. Unfortunately, that can lead to mental health issues or suicides. So, if we help them to come out and say, okay, there is a lot of pain in the world, but how do you transform? How do you reach out to somebody else's pain, right? How do you help someone? How go and enjoy nature, right? I mean, if we help them connect with all panchmahabhoota and use panchmahabhoota also as therapy,
Mal-
sponge hriday, right?
Malaja,
Then
ask
he will start dissolving. Yes, Narendra ji.
yeah, what I'm trying to understand is, suppose if my sthai bhava is anger, basically, if I am an angry person, then there must be some deep-rooted reason for that anger. If my sthai bhav is anger, then if I simply like using the NāṭyaŠāstra, what I'm giving expression to my anger, I express it through my actions. Superficially, I'm acting out that role of anger or whatever. Would it really cure me of my sthai svabhāva? Would it go away if the deep-rooted reasons are not addressed? This is what I would like to know.
Wonderful question, Narendra ji. That's why I said Natyashastra gives us one understanding and one way of using it for therapy. But how do I dissolve or transform my sthai bhava? This is where yoga and Ayurveda come together, right? Because yoga, right? There are a lot of breathing practices, simple breathing practices, Chandra Nadi Pranayama, which can cool down you, right? Also in Ayurveda, anger is result of excess pitta, excess fire within us. So, how do you change your diet? How do you change the timing when you eat, what you eat? What are the timings when you sleep so that that aggravation doesn't happen? So, kaleidoscope, right? You have to integrate from different sciences. But first, you're right. I need to understand that if anger or karunaras or veeras, we see so many people going for reckless adventure, right? So veeras is one of my dominant sthai bhava. But how do I transform? When emotional raw state, they can become non-productive. Or they may
So,
even harm me, my health, or my relationship.
so Natya has to be supplemented with yoga and Ayurveda and all that to make it a
Absolutely.
holistic. Oh, God.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this is very, very interesting again, because what you are pointing out is again what our rishis envisioned, the integrality of everything. So we were never into these very fixed disciplines of knowledge, but everything has to come together for a very, I don't know if multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, these words even capture that, because it is really an integral whole in the right sense of the word, that kind of a system. So thank you for really emphasizing that, Maladi. I was thinking of somebody recently telling me that he's like 25-year-old young man, and he was attending some in Delhi, some of the theater improv workshops done by, I think, either National School of Drama or one of the drama institutions. And one of the exercise these kids were given was to switch roles while doing the improv. So one a negative character and one a positive character. So Ram or Ravan or Vibhishan or Ravan Samvad, or whatever. There was even an exercise of a young man going to meet the prospective father-in-law, and the who is not happy with the match and all that. So, and he was saying the immediate switch that we were asked to do was very educational. That you come in contact with your own biases and prejudices and things that you are carrying. So even at the cognitive level, this can be so therapeutic and so revealing of what we are made up of, what biases we are carrying within. So I can't imagine at the level of emotions, the awareness which can eventually help us to transform or healing that you were talking about, how cathartic that can be. So thank you for really showing that, the real kind of emotional intelligence through these examples. I have one question for you. I read somewhere in your background that you also have done some work in film making, right? So these days, okay, theater is there, but films, especially commercial cinema, is a huge influence on the younger generation. So what insights you would find from Indian aesthetic tradition that may have some bearing on what positive role cinema can play in influencing especially the younger generations? I'm not just talking about, preachy sort of way, moralistic, but in terms of self-awareness, self-growth, and even like knowing the parts that we are made up of. So if you can speak a little bit about that, that will be great.
Velu. Uh, you know what we realize today, and especially entertainment. Unfortunately, the entertainment today is not very wholesome. You know, even on Netflix or any platform you go, there is this warning of sex, violence, drug abuse, and these are the most popular shows, right? Even theater, you see a lot of violence. I don't want to take names of films, but people rave about certain films, and I started watching it and switched off in 5 minutes because there was so much gory violence, you know? And it made me realize that, again, going back to the origin of NāṭyaŠāstra, it was created in between the time from Satyug to Treta Yuga, right? And the dharma going down. And therefore, how do you, without preaching dharma, how do you reach out the right messages to audiences? And that's Shastra was created and given to humanity, right? And now see is we are almost at a similar stage where the yoga, the dharma is maybe at its lowest, right? And it's a medium which appeals, right? Appeals to every age group. How do you use entertainment in a more wholesome way or integrate all emotions, not just one or two, you know? And how do you social change using Natya Shastra? And this is where I realized two things, that one, the emotion of peace, Shantrasa, is totally gone from our individual lives, from society, and that's also from entertainment, right? And it's just not, we all want Shanti, we all want peace, but there is no peace in our daily schedule. And this reminded of the mother because I had written a paper recently, which is published on peace as new dharma. where I talk of Abhinav Gupta, but where I talk also of the mother who very clearly says that peace has to be invited. It doesn't come if you don't invite peace. And there is so much on peace, right, that people can just Google out the mother's quotations on peace and calmness. Because calmness and peace give you a space where you are much stronger. People generally see peace as making you weak, but that's not the reality. So, in turbulent times, right, if we want to survive, let's say COVID, I'll give you a very simple example. Dr. Manorama, who's in Karnataka, and they are working on an IKS project on Natyashastra. And in one of our presentations, they talk about using folk theater to create awareness about COVID. Importance of hygiene. We limiting myself to films that you asked about. But if entertainment can convert it, right? And emotions that we want more in society, isn't it?
I think we missed one part that you were talking about the folk theater being used to spread the message on COVID. So, if I understood you correctly, you are saying that even the emotions that we want to be seen more in our individual and collective life, films or theater should be showing those emotions more. And
Yes,
again, it's so interesting that we live in times, if the movie cinema particularly, if it's a slow paced movie, people don't even find it entertaining, because this
absolutely.
may force them to go into some deeper inner quietness or something, or to ponder, reflect on what the filmmaker is trying to show. But we don't have the patience for that. We want fast paced
We
kind of
want.
things. So yeah.
And
um
it reminds me one quotation of Henry Thoreau. He has been one of my inspirators, in life to make right choices. And he says, we all are living very fast rather than deep.
hmm,
So, as you said, the moment you slow down, you start going deeper. And people individually and we collectively are evolving to facing our own self.
yeah,
It's like you don't want to face your own demons, right? And therefore, living fast, living superficial,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, people do that
it's
deliberately.
happening.
People choose that life deliberately, I think, because, like you said, they are unable to face their inner demons.
See, what happens is, that happiness today is either kind of floss, which has no nutrition, right? But everyone loves the sweet taste. Or it's become walking like walking on a treadmill. So you're not reaching anywhere, right? You achieved so many steps, but where are you? You're standing still. You are just there where you started, isn't it?
Hmm.
And this is where I realize that understanding our svabhāva is the foundation of leading a purposeful and meaningful life. I mean, I'm happy today psychology has taken almost 200 years to come and talk about not pathology, but positive psychology, right? People talk of Martin Seligman as a father of positive psychology. However, I would say, look at Abhinav Gupta, Rasa, talking of peace as an emotion, right? We can call Abhinav father of positive psychology for us, isn't
Yes.
it? Right?
And if I,
Model, Perma model. Martin Seligman has given a Perma model where P is for positive emotion. So when Sai Bhava and the Navarasa, 4 out of 9 are positive, 5 are, Shringar, Hasya, right? Veeras,
Karuna.
Karuna, right? So these are Shantaras. Basically, these are all positive emotions.
Yes. And I think if I remember correctly, Abhinav Gupta also speaks about all these rasas eventually getting subsumed under Shant Rasa, because that's the parent rasa. Everything originates from there. So in fact, this distinction between positive and negative is also not so rigid in our way of looking at things. And I think that itself can be very therapeutic and healing, because it doesn't put somebody in the category of being sick or, carrying all this negative baggage, but rather, a possibility of transformation. So, I mean, there are so many insights that we can get. And I know we are almost an hour. And I think we've just scratched the surface, because it's a huge area that we've been we all can benefit from. And as you said, it's not just about India or Indians, but it's universal. So really, Maladi, thank you so much for giving so many deep insights. And I'm sure we will have you back, to go more deeper into it. Even the course that you talked about, how you use these theatrical techniques to help one understand the svabhāva, that would be such a good thing if we can somehow manage to figure out a way how to do it. So that would be great. But thank you so much for spending an hour with us and giving us these deep insights. And I'm sure our viewers will benefit a lot from that. But this is just the start of a beautiful, relation that we will be building upon, and there will be more opportunities to collaborate. So very good to see you online. We just met, I think, 4 weeks back, and we'll be seeing you again. So thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.